call the, June 20th, 2025 certification meeting to order. The first item on the agenda, of course, is the approval of the agenda, and I would accept a motion to that effect.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we accept the agenda as presented.
A motion has been made. Is there a second? A motion and a second have both been made. Is there discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor of approving the agenda as written signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Brings us to the next item on the agenda, of course, public comments. Speakers will be given a 5-minute maximum time limit to speak before the Board of Elections about various topics, issues, and concerns. Speakers must direct comments to the board, and responses are reserved at the direction of the board. So, do we have any public comment? We got one. Please approach the desk, state your name and your Fayette County residence.
Yes, my name is Jamie Harmon, and I am a resident of Fayette County. I live in the county. I rise again to speak on a few things to the board. First of all, I'm thankful for the website update that explains exactly what the Public Service Commissioner, what that is and why it's important. So that's a great thing. The next thing is we need to have unfettered access to the ballot. In the United States, we do not have an issue of people cheating, trying to vote when they should not. We have an issue that most of us don't vote. I don't care what's going on, we just don't vote. I realized over the week, on Tuesday, the safest place to leave my car unlocked was at a voting precinct because no one would come by there. No one was showing up. So we don't need to make it harder to access the ballot in the United States. We need to make it easier. I don't know, incentivize it. I'm sure that's illegal, so scratch that. The next thing is, I once had a candidate say to me, they depended on low voter turnout in order to win. That says a lot about our system in the United States. We need to do all that we can to encourage voting. And to that matter, what I say is, when the new signs that are the blue on red, it creates an effect where it looks as almost, it makes the wording invisible when you're driving that you cannot see. And we need to have more prominent signage along the highways to let people know where they may vote. So the basic black on white that we had, that works well. People can recognize that from afar. Going into Whitewater High School, passing by that on 85, for the people who normally vote at Starr's Mill, if they're looking for where they need to go, they would have missed it. It was a little small sign on 85, very small, that pointed to go vote. And if you're driving, and we all drive 55 at least there, you would have missed it. I was like, what did I just see? Someone's trying to buy my house? Was this a cell phone sale? I had no idea. So we need prominent signage. Going over to Braylon, there was no signage on South Peachtree Parkway. The actual precinct is on Robinson Road. There should have been signage on the Peachtree Parkway that points to Robinson Road. We need to let people know where the precincts are. Let's not assume they know. Let's not even assume they know that there's an election. Sadly, I had people say, oh, there's an election? I'm like, my God, this is for the Public Service Commissioner. We need, even though it's a primary, show up and vote. Because in your primary, that's where you can choose the best candidates. So that's all that I have, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you. The conclusion of public comment, that'll bring us to our next item on the agenda, of course, our new business. We've got a few items here, but first on the agenda, of course, is the certification of the June 17th, 2025 Public Service Commission special election.
Greetings, Board. If you would turn with me to your election summary report. I smiled because that was so churchy. As for this June 2025 election, we had a total of 3,697 ballots cast. 2,470 of those occurred on election day. 1,202 of those occurred during advance voting, and we received 23 eligible absentee ballots in the office. And two election day ballots were received for provisional. At this time, typically, we would go over our provisional ballots right before we certify. So I have given you all a sheet with 3 names listed, which I would like to keep off of the record. However, out of those 3 provisional ballots that I gave you just a second ago, you got it? Okay. 2 of those were eligible. All of those ballots were OP, meaning that they were not cast at their precinct. However, they were still eligible to receive full credit because we only had our statewide election on the ballot. So 2 of those we were able to accept, that's the word, and 1 of those we had to reject because they are registered outside of our county. So I don't need any motion or action for provisionals because there weren't anything that needed to be reviewed by the board. So at this time, I would ask that you certify the election as is for the Public Service Commission held on June 17, 2025.
Thank you, Director
Did you
Garrett.
have any questions?
Any questions for the director from the board? Okay, at this time, I would accept a motion. Would you like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion, we approve the, and certify the elections of June the 17th.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
No.
Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, that brings us to the next item on the agenda for new business. Of course, in the aftermath of former Chair Gary Rower's resignation, I've been serving as acting chair since, I guess, June 1st, when his resignation kicks into effect. And of course, in consulting with Patrick, our attorney, and Director Garrett, we do need some formalization of the roles of the board as it's currently composed. So at this time, we would open the floor for nominations for chair, and then we'll move on to vice chair.
I make the motion that the chair would be Zach Lively.
I second.
With a motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries, and I'll abstain on that one. Thank you, colleagues. And now that would bring us to the next item, of course, which is the vice chair contest. And, you know, this is a role I filled for, I guess, a little over a year, I guess a year and a half or so. Time flies, man, crazy. But given my fellow colleague Charlene Alexander's experience on the board, I would like to go ahead and make a nomination for Charlene Alexander as vice chair.
I second it.
Hear a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? No. So I'll call it for a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Congratulations, Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you.
Did Vice Chair Alexander, did you abstain or did you vote?
I abstain.
Thank you.
Okay, that's another item off. On to the next item of new business. Our last item of new business is the advanced voting dates and times for the upcoming runoff in the Public Service Commission. That runoff will be held specifically as Election Day is July 15th, 2025. However, I know that the election director has prepared a recommendation for AIP voting. So I would turn it over to the director to explain that proposal to us.
So I failed to provide the percentage rates during the certification, which I try to typically do for the record. So we had a 3.97% turnout across the county for voting. During advanced voting, we had a 1.29%. On election day, we had a 2.65%. My recommendation is for Monday through Friday, July 7th through July 11th, and it's also on the first page of your director's report as well, if you wanted to skip ahead and save time from writing. And that's the very last document in your page. So I would recommend Monday, July 7th through Friday, July 11th, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., which is our mandated times. And I would also like to propose one voting location, and particularly because of the high percentage rate. And also, never mind. I recant what I was going to say. But that's my recommendation, just for one polling location at the main office.
Absolutely. Any questions from the board for the director? Yeah, I mean, I think that's a pretty fair proposal, especially seeing that we did have, I guess, 2/3 of folks who turned out, probably, rough math there, chose to vote on election day rather than utilizing early voting. So I like this proposal. It also keeps down on costs for a really, really small election that unfortunately we do have to conduct. But I think this balances opportunity for the public and also the financial considerations that we have to make. So I would accept a motion from the board as to this proposal.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we accept the advanced voting dates and times and locations as presented by the director.
A motion has been made. Is there a second?
I have a second.
A motion and a second have been made. Any further discussion?
I'd just like to make a comment that, is it true that we would only have one party is on the ballot for the runoff, which...
That is correct, and I'm so glad that you asked that. So yes, the only eligible contest is for the District 3 on the Democratic side.
So we would have even lower turnout.
Correct.
Correct? I mean,
Well, I wouldn't say lower based off of our percentage in the county. So there's another percent that can still cast a ballot. But for those that voted Republican during the primary, they will not be able to participate in this runoff election.
that's what I meant by there would be less people.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, and then I'll call it for a vote. All in favor of accepting the advanced voting recommendation as proposed by Director Garrett, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Okay. Old business, we don't have any old business, so can move on to our next item on the agenda, of course, is approving the May 27th, 2025 special called meeting minutes.
And I think there's a switch on the agenda. I think the May was a regular meeting and the April was a special meeting.
Okay. Do we need to amend the agenda then?
Just as long as the motion states it correctly, that should be
Okay.
fine.
Okay, so whenever the motion is made to approve these minutes, make sure that we say May 27th, 2025, regular meeting minutes. I'm just going to go ahead and write in that real quick correction.
So we would keep this order, we just make the comments. Okay.
Yeah. I think the first one on this list here, the 27th, May 27th, is regular, and then the 22nd of April is special.
Yes, and that's also an amendment, and I'll explain that when we get to it.
So April 22nd was a special meeting,
Yeah.
That's correct.
special called meeting?
Special called meeting. And then did you want to say something, Director Garrett?
When we get to the next item, yes, please.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so for that, I will go ahead and open the floor up to accept a motion for the approval of the May 27th, 2025 regular meeting minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the regular meeting of May the 27th, 25, and the minutes.
I second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries unanimously. And next item, very similar, the approval of the April 22nd, 2025 special called meeting minutes. I'd accept a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I hereby make a motion to approve the April 22nd, 2025 special call meeting minutes.
Second.
Motion and second have been made.
May I, I'm sorry. That's the agenda item. I wanted to provide
Oh, I'm sorry.
a small piece of information and to check with Attorney Stowe. So, April 22nd, 2025 special call meeting was approved during our last board meeting. However, when going back before posting it online to review it, I noticed that I left off the public comment. So I have went back and added that verbiage just to make sure that it's right. So I guess the question is, should that be accepting an amendment to the prior, or is this motion fine?
Am I on? As long as the person who made the motion can amend their motion to approve the amendment to, and that's a lot of
I'm sorry.
saying the same thing over again, but if you're willing to change your are you willing to change your motion to that?
Yeah, I can change the motion to accept the amended special meeting call minutes from April 22nd, 2022.
Fantastic.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Brings us to public hearing. Here comes the mouthful. We've only got 2 of the 4 normal categories for public hearings of removing voters. Of course, the categories that we have tonight are deceased and canceled, so let me get through this. First item, public hearing and staff's recommendation to remove registered Fayette County voters from the electors list who are registered in the state of Georgia's Secretary of State voter registration system as deceased. I'd accept a motion.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we accept the deceased list as presented.
I second.
Motion and a second have been made. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. And now, our next item on public hearing. Public hearing of staff's recommendation to remove registered Fayette County voters from the electors list who are registered in the state of Georgia Secretary of State voter registration system as canceled. And I'd accept a motion.
I make the motion to accept the recommendation to remove registers Fayette County voters from the elections list who are now called canceled.
Second.
Motion and a second have been made. Any further discussion?
No.
Okay, I'll call the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, got through that pretty quick. Now it brings us to our next item, of course, the director's report. So I will hand off the floor to Director Garrett to give us a little update on where we are in Fayette County as far as elections are concerned.
I will try my best to be brief, but I have a lot to cover in as short amount of time as possible. So as you all know, as of June 20th, 2025, there are 103,461 voters registered in Fayette County. Now that we have closed out our June PSC election, we now currently have a runoff. Our LNA testing will begin as soon as the ballot is available from the Secretary of State's office, but I will keep you all updated. Since it is a runoff election, we just have to post when this will begin 5 days before each election, so we'll be providing that notice on our website as soon as the date is set. We are currently awaiting for instructions from the Secretary of State as we begin one election and close out another. Also, just for educational pieces too, especially for Board Member Kelly, during a runoff election, any poll workers that have received training during that original election, whether it's primary or general, they are not required to take poll worker training during the runoff. However, after reviewing some of the paperwork and as a product of looking at our processes, we will provide an opportunity for them to come in and kind of get one-on-one training or even doing a session of completing paperwork. Since it's the summer, we missed a lot of our veteran managers. So, is that right? Okay, so we missed a lot of our seasoned managers. So we had a lot of new people step up. So just kind of finding that medium to give them the support that they need going forward to complete the paperwork. Our risk limiting audit, which is mandated by state, is scheduled for June 26th, and it will begin at 2 a.m. at the library, and that's also in your director's report. We have also, everyone here has met her. We have also filled the deputy registrar position. So Jenny Gray started with us on election day. With that, I must say that you are doing a pretty good job for day 5 on the job of being appointed the new board member, but it's a lot of new faces in the elections office for Fayette County, but I think that we're moving in a good direction. I do need to bring you aware, I emailed your director's report earlier, but I did provide an update. So on page 2, towards the bottom, I provided you some precinct location updates that I wanted to make sure you were informed of going forward, especially in preparation of November. So we are squared away for the July runoff for the 36 precincts. We will be, as you know, we're over. The Tyrone location had a lot of ongoing issues with the building, so we have completely closed that precinct down, and we will be using the library on election day for that location. As for the November election, I will be meeting with Brandon on next week or the week after to kind of look at other options for the November advance voting and for election day. I know though that we have a timeline, so I've been talking with Attorney Stowe back and forth to kind of make sure that we stay within compliance and kind of catch these things ahead of time before they become an emergency as much as I can. So I will be meeting with him forthcoming within the next 2 weeks. We also have Fielding Ridge, which is the Kedron Aquatic Center. So Peachtree City reached out to kind of get a gauge on our usage there. They're going to be renovating their city hall, but they don't have a definite date, and I didn't inquire about a plan, but they're just trying to make plans going forward. So they're possibly thinking of moving to that aquatic center to house their offices while they work on their city hall building. And we, as far as I understand, we're good to go for November. They're willing to accommodate us, even if that means packing up a room for us. But we are in talks. As it stands now, I do not need any action, but I'm watching very closely for that. I kind of told them if we could just have a small room in November, we will make it work. I don't mind working with them, but the goal is to not move the locations because it's starting to become a pattern that I do not want, not just for us in the office, but also for the voters as well, because it takes so many steps. But Ms. Julio seems to be very understanding and knowledgeable and just trying to get ahead of this curve along with myself to kind of come up with a solution ahead of time and to stay in compliance. So it's in the works. No action is needed, but that has been an exchange that we've had in preparation for November. And lastly, Stars Mills was a gloomy story at the beginning of this morning, but the sunshine has arrived. So they originally, as you know, we had to change that emergency location 1 week before the election because they have renovations on one part and a summer camp on another, and they were not able to accommodate us for this upcoming election. So we moved the June election day precinct to Whitewater High School. And the same thing will happen for the runoff because they originally informed us that they're not available for the rest of the year and we would need to find somewhere to host the November election. And Whitewater High School has made it very clear that after July, they're not available in November as well. However, today at approximately 12:30, 1 o'clock, we received confirmation that their renovations will in fact end in September and their building is available for November and December. That was a close one. So that's where we stand when it comes to our precinct locations and just trying to stay ahead of the curve. As far as Peachtree City, number 31, I'll be in constant contact with her, mainly for the spring election, because that's going to be a bigger election and we can't just go into a small room for that one. And I do want to say to you all, as I'm overcoming these obstacles and jumping these hurdles, One of the things that I don't want to do is to keep moving voting locations, because it not only becomes a hassle for us because we have to do so many things to do such and stay in compliance, but we want to be very consistent for the voters. So I'm trying my best to avoid that. And I originally was coming to move Stars Mill completely, but since they're available, we will be there. But we also had this problem last year for summer camps as well. And we typically do have those summer camps things going on in the summertime and the schools being closed. But hopefully over time I can build a relationship with these facilities so that we are already locked in, engaged, setting up kind of options for accessing the building outside of their perimeter. And that's really all I have for my director's report. Any questions for me?
But part of this would answer Jamie's first comments at the 3 p.m. meeting, that being aware that that the old police department building where we always voted it's gone. And I think we moved it to library for this past election, but we know we're not going back there. That building it's gone. So we'll have air conditioning wherever we're going.
I would like to address that too, since you brought it up, because I had it on my list. And I didn't know if I could from the previous, I thought there were two separate meetings. Okay. So with the Tyrone situation as well, while we would love the library too, Tyrone is small. So a lot of their revenue and summer programs and reading programs during November as well. Advanced voting is 3 weeks straight of voting, including Saturday. And in the springtime, I'm sure we'll entertain looking at Sundays. So that's why it's hard to lock in for churches, like with churches and those private businesses. I don't think that we can as much, but it can be a little challenging. Because we even talked about the recreation, but they hold all of their classes. And when people pay for classes, that's revenue into those facilities. So it is a little challenging when trying to solidify a location, especially during advanced voting. But Brandon seems to be workable, and we are in touch, but we have to get something together before
I'm also working with
spring. Also, with the public comments too, I think that it would help getting that support on the town, city levels as well, whatever that looks like. That concludes my.
Any further questions for the director?
Is this time we ask about getting ready for November, where we have municipals and we have the PSC, the general election for the statewide. We know we have those going on. All of the precincts will be open, especially because of the statewide. Then we have the municipals that are open. My question is, and I know you take care of the combo codes and all that sort of thing, but we were discussing over break that we have a number of candidates, or at least one in our county, who's declared that they're running for state office. And we weren't sure. Patrick, do you know at what point that they, whatever they do, they certify or whatever they do, such that we have to elect somebody to take their place?
Sure. And it's been a little while since I've looked at the actual language, but I believe what the Constitution requires is if you qualify for a position and the term for that position begins before your term is over, then you automatically vacate your position. So, for example, if you currently are you're a mayor of a city, and your term ends in 2027, but you declare for an office that the term begins 2025, you would vacate your position as mayor once you qualified to run for that other position.
When is qualification for state office? Do you?
I don't think it's posted, or
It's usually going to be in the spring, I think, right?
in the early spring.
Yeah. So and none of this becomes an issue until somebody qualifies.
Okay, so we just need to check qualification date. That's not been put out yet, right?
It has not, and I don't think it will for quite some time, but I understand exactly your concern. It's just something that we can't foresee on the county level. But that's some good questions, and I'll be asking the Secretary of State that as well. Because
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying, especially as we get close to our ballot deadline for November. So just seeing if some of those seats need to be placed on that ballot versus waiting until the spring or having a special election outside of those dates. I completely get it, and I'll look into it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else for the director? Cool. Yeah, that was going to be one question that I asked about as well. The special election potential necessitation. No, not at all. Good to have some clarity on that too. I know that for generally the 2026 election dates haven't exactly been posted by the SOS yet. Still waiting on those. I remember qualification when I was up at the state capitol usually happened in late February, early March. I want to say that's when it happened in 2024, when qualification occurred then. So it probably in that timeline. Definitely do not want to have to conduct a special election if we could put it on a general ballot, but we follow the law, and that's what we do. Okay, with the conclusion of the director's report, I'll turn it over to Attorney Stowe.
I do
Anything
not have
to-
anything.
Attorney's report? Fantastic, love to hear it, love to not get sued. And that brings us to our next item on the agenda, of course, the board members' reports. I would first offer Mr. Kelly the floor for any board member report that he wishes to give.
Well, all I have to say is I appreciate the opportunity to serve with this board, and I consider it an honor, and I want to do the best I can for the cities for the people of this county. So I just appreciate being appointed. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Alexander.
Thank you. Mr. Kelly, welcome. We really look forward to having you on the board, and no question is ever too dumb to ask. You're always better off to ask than not ask. Everybody's used to me doing a lot of asking. So we appreciate those of you who come to our meetings and make public comments. It's always good to have input. We are here to serve the electors of Fayette County, as well as help our election office and staff. And so we always welcome comments and questions, and of course, recommendations. So that's it. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Vice Chair Alexander. Initially, I want to echo those sentiments. Welcome to the board, Mr. Kelly. Looking forward to working with you, Morris, and building a strong relationship as we do seek to serve the public. Save money where we can, but of course, the number one priority is voter access, voter education, voter convenience, and making sure that everybody has as easy and efficient of an experience when they go to cast their ballot as possible. Of course, now that we've had the formalization of roles, I appreciate both of my colleagues' support here for serving as chair, the young whippersnapper sitting in the middle, but I'm really looking forward to leaning on their counsel, their advice, and moving the entire department in forward direction. My priorities personally for what I really want to see, what I can accomplish in this brief time that I fill out the remainder of Chair Rower's term, is just emphasizing the importance of elections, even when they're small, even when they're municipals, even when they're public service commission. We're seeing that in spades right now, and all of that really is an effect of civic education, voter education, and making sure people know what's going on and what the government actually does. All politics is local, all governance is local, and as we move forward and move further into the year, the municipal elections, state public service commission, and then into 2026, of course, I know that I've got strong allies here on the board and in the election department to make that happen, to really see the voters of Fayette County best served and also best informed about what's going on. So with that, I'll just say one other thing. There was some discussion across the entire state of Georgia as to the OCGA 21-270. That's OCGA 21-2-270. That's of course the 1% statute. If counties have under 1% turnout for certain races, especially when they're statewide, like this Public Service Commission. Additional voting locations are able to be closed on Election Day. We are nowhere near that statute. We blew past it with about just under a 4% total turnout, and about 2,300 voters in the Democratic primary alone. So they, just the Democratic voters in this election blew past that 1%. So we cannot use this statute, which means all our precincts will be open on July 15th. I've spoken with the board members here, and they're aware of that situation as well. Definitely at an increased cost to the county, but this is how the statute is written. This is how we'll follow it. So with that, I'll just again thank my colleagues for their service, thank the staff for all the work that they do. Even today is a great example because staff had to run around and get packets together for a 3 o'clock meeting and a 5 o'clock meeting because we've got timelines we have to meet that are statutorily set for certification, for everything going on, for LNA, for risk limiting audits, for everything. So I'll stop pontificating. I'll get y'all out of here so y'all can eat. Thank you all, seriously. So with that, brings us to executive session, which we don't have. So I'll go ahead and look for a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we adjourn.
Okay, for any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, call a vote. All in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you all.